All right, welcome back. Episode 197 of Chaotically Intolerant. We're gonna do probably a short episode again today. There's just nothing really going on in sports. We got the NBA All Star Game. Ugh. Not really hockey guys right now, of course. I've heard that Four Nations thing is actually pretty sick. Might have to check that out. But we're just going to talk a little football, maybe talk a little LA Rams. I think the LA Rams have one of the most intriguing off seasons coming up. Um, and this is going to be our last episode before our break and our switch over to baseball. It is baseball season coming up. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's go. All right, Mike. So this is the last episode before the break. We're going to take a nice little refresh time. Let's talk about a team and a city that I don't care about, LA. I'm really intrigued by this offseason for the Rams. The Rams were obviously the only team that really made the Eagles sweat it out in a postseason where they ran through everyone. It was I think as we get further and further away from this postseason, I think it's more about just how good the Eagles were versus maybe the Eagles or the Chiefs laid an egg about how bad they were, if they're fraudulent. I can't have that conversation. I'm sorry. You don't win two Super Bowls and go 15 and 2 or 15 and whatever by accident, by being fraudulent. That's just not fraudulent, in my opinion.
Yeah. What, 95 points in the last two playoff games? They saved their best for last. The first two games weren't that impressive. They kind of, slugged it out with the Packers. It was kind of ugly, and then they had to hang on to beat the Rams. I don't think anybody, not that people didn't see them winning the Super Bowl potentially, but I don't think anyone saw 95 to 45 over the last two games. They combined to win those games by 50 points. So, but the Rams, you got to give them credit because they were operating with, I think, a negative point differential all year. And again, some of that came from that 1-4 start, but they actually finished the year at minus 19. So for them to then go in, beat the Vikings by 18, and then only lose to the Eagles because they couldn't get, score when they got down in the red zone. Who's to say had the Rams won? They would have hosted Washington. That would have been in LA.
Yeah.
With all the wildfire stuff, all the sentimentality, and then given what the Chiefs did in the Super Bowl, who's to say the Rams couldn't have actually gone on? Who's to say that Rams-Eagles game wasn't the Super Bowl? I don't know, but maybe a little far-fetched. But they obviously were playing their best football, and I guess that brings them and it brings us to what they're going to do at quarterback because Stafford's got a massive cap number.
Yeah, so the Rams actually came out a few days ago and said they are committed to working it out with Stafford. I think he's the best quarterback on the market. If you're going away from him right now, who are you going to get that's better? Right? Aaron Rodgers, is he like the best quarterback out there right now?
No chance.
No Jameis, Sam Darnold, these guys you're rolling the dice here, I think, with these other quarterbacks. But I kind of wanted to look at these other guys here. They got a lot of big pieces that are going up for free agency right now. You have Bobby Brown, who's a big nose tackle. He gives them a lot of good size in the interior defensive line. Ahkello Witherspoon, their corner situation is really shaky, and just the secondary all year was kind of a problem. He gives them stability. And then Michael Hoyt, who undrafted free agent. He can play pretty much anywhere on that front part of the defense. And he's really well respected in the locker room. I think those are guys you have to re-sign. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the Rams kind of navigate this because maybe you can work out a deal with Stafford, but I can't imagine he's not going to be taking another $20 to $30 million hit. I think it's $50 million this year, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to work something out where it's not a big hit anyways. You're getting rid of Cooper Kupp, which I don't know what his contract was, but I can't imagine it's small if they're getting rid of him. Nakua is going to have to step up. You're going to have to see Puka Nakua be the guy unless they can go out and get a T. Higgins, which T. Higgins is by far the number one receiver in this free agent class. And this isn't like an incredibly exciting draft class for wide receivers. I mean, but one of the best is probably Travis Hunter right now. And I think he's more considered a cornerback at the NFL level. So I'm really curious about what this Rams team is going to do this offseason, because I think they could be Super Bowl contenders this year.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they have a lot of free agents right now, just scrolling through the list here. But so this is maybe overly simplistic to say, but Matthew Stafford makes a ton of money both from football and from endorsements. He's the kind of guy that, right now his legacy is he's obviously had a very good career. He's won a Super Bowl, so that's a short list. Yeah. If he could just say, you know what, I don't care about the market and what this does to other quarterbacks, maybe he could just take a massive pay cut and say, you know what, I'm going to give it one more shot, because they, like I said, had they beat the Eagles, there's no telling that they maybe could have won the Super Bowl given everything that was going on with them this year. And with all these other free agents, I mean, if they want to keep the band together, he's got to think in the back of his mind, like he's the guy that may be holding that up. And if he comes back, he's got to say, is that going to weigh on my conscience? Am I going to have to take a big hometown discount? Does he want to try to go somewhere else? That's maybe ready to win, although who's really ready to win without a quarterback? It's kind of hard. I mean, I know Brady did that. But, I don't know. I think it would be a shame for him to finish his career anywhere else. I mean, obviously he's going to be known, I think, as a Lion no matter what. But if he goes to, I don't know, where's he going to go? The Jets, the Raiders, if he's desperate. Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Well, Raiders, yeah. The Giants. I mean, there's a lot of the desperate teams for quarterbacks are not teams that are looking to win. And Stafford has already won with the Rams. They're close to being contenders. So I'd be shocked if they didn't work something out. But I feel like they need to keep some of these other guys, because they could bring him back. But if they lose a lot of these key players, maybe they're not Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah. Even guys like Tutu Atwell, who are like, I mean, he clearly wasn't a key player. I don't think anyone would fight me on that, but he always made plays when it was needed for the Rams. And he is a great vertical threat. He can beat pretty much anyone on those intermediary routes. I'd love to see them bring him back for a really cheap contract, especially, again, you talked about it, bringing the band back together, bringing a guy who knows Stafford, who is bonded with Stafford already, and probably can expand that bond, especially if they go into this season rolling with Nakua as your number one receiver. And then you have a guy like Demarcus Robinson, who's 31 years old. He's old, but I think you need a vet in that wide receiver room. I think if you could look at Demarcus Robinson, let's say the Rams win the Super Bowl next year, and Demarcus Robinson is on the roster. I think a lot of fans and analysts will look at him and say that's the guy who kind of held everything together. Because every Super Bowl team has that moment, right, all year where they're like, maybe we can't do this. Maybe we're not good enough. And Demarcus Robinson would probably be one of those leaders who can help kind of hold that team together and say, let's just ride this wave. Let's ride it out. Let's be better. Let's be a Super Bowl team. And on the defensive side, I would love to see them sign Asante Samuel Jr. You keep him in the same stadium, right, in LA, in the Apple Store. He's that perfect kind of fit. Size-wise, he's about 5'10", 180. All of their corners are about the same size. I think he could be a great addition and really bolster that, because their corners and their secondary was a problem all year. They couldn't get anything done in the secondary. Their line and their linebackers have been fantastic, but the secondary has been a clear liability. And if you add a playmaker like that, even on a 1-year deal, that could be, he could go ring chasing. Like, you could see him go ring chasing this year. I want to talk, I guess let's talk about, let's say Stafford leaves, right? You're still, like, LA is still in this kind of weird win now situation. It doesn't feel like they're win now, right? It feels like they're just kind of sitting in not purgatory, like the Colts purgatory, where you're going 8-9 every year, but purgatory where you get to the playoffs, but you're just not good enough to get over that hump. That's what it's felt like the past couple of years, and you want to see them take a step forward. Who do you want to see that can maybe take a step forward if it's not Matthew Stafford? Because I have a few names that come to mind.
You mean if to replace him?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I
as a
mean,
maybe a 1 year replacement.
they were Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent, and he could always come back and make the case like, "Hey, I took a team that was good around me to the Super Bowl, didn't win
That's
it,
true.
obviously." Are they going to bring in Sam Darnold? I just think like there's nobody that's as good as Stafford that's out there now, unless they're able to shockingly pry a big name away. I mean, Darnold would be interesting because I'd love to see if he could duplicate what he did with Kevin O'Connell last year. And, Sean McVay obviously knows how to work with quarterbacks as well. He got a good team around him. I'd love to know because if Darnold goes to a bad team, then we're going to be like, oh, we can't really blame him. It's the same thing as with the Jets and the Panthers. But if he goes to another good team and can win 14 games again, heck, if he can win 10 games, people will say, wow, maybe he is a good quarterback. He just, unfortunately, they ran into a good team that sacked him 9 times. That would be the most intriguing. I mean, I don't want to see Kirk Cousins. I'm tired of hearing about Kirk Cousins being
He's not even
capable.
on my list.
No, I mean, I think it'd always be good to have. There was an article that said that Les Snead was talking about maybe having a mobile quarterback. Thinking maybe as a backup, you go out, you get a guy like a Drew Lock, maybe a guy
Yeah.
that can be scrappy, come in and win a few games, but you need to have a starter you can roll with. And if it's not Stafford, I would think it has to be. I don't even think I'd want to see Russ there. I just don't think that would
I
work.
was thinking about Russ. I was
Yeah,
thinking on it, especially going back to the NFC West, right?
right,
It's kind of the familiar heyday. He kind of gets out of that weird AFC thing he's been doing. He doesn't feel like an AFC quarterback to me.
right.
There's
Yeah,
a
because he's
certain look
not
to an
good.
AFC
That's
quarterback.
why. Yeah, because they're all the top MVP guys: Burrow and Allen, Mahomes, Jackson. I mean, all the best quarterbacks are in the AFC. So if you don't fit in, you don't have a chance, really. I mean, that's how it's gone.
Yeah, I think I could see a Russ NFC West reunion. I just don't know if I don't think he takes them. I think that's going to be really hard. He's a little too old for me. And speaking of old quarterbacks, I did mention Aaron Rodgers, and to me that kind of makes sense. Got a California boy, right? Heading back to his home state. He gets to be in the same division as the Niners, who passed on him, and he was just so pissed that they passed on him. He's got. I mean, listen, the guy's still got some zip too. I think we saw it this year. His arm is not the problem. I think it was just the Jets. I think that's all you can chalk it up to. Really, is the Jets' energy just ruining everything about him. And gets to be in LA. Guy loves the media. He loves doing things in the media. It'd be a perfect opportunity for him. Give him one last ride. He gets to work with McVay, who's he's a film rat. He loves watching film, just being, he can watch all the films so Aaron Rodgers can go on his ayahuasca trips. Doesn't even have to worry about his homework. I think it would be good for us either way because it would be great media. You get Aaron Rodgers everything. Or it would be great for the Rams and you see maybe a resurgence from Rodgers.
I actually would hate to see that because I think it's funny that the Dodgers and Lakers kind of embody what we think about LA,
Yeah.
flashy, big stars, the glitz, the glamour. The Rams don't really fit that profile. They kind of did in 2021. They went out and they got a bunch of guys that kind of went all in with Von Miller and Odell Beckham, and obviously they'd gotten Stafford that year. And now they're a little more of a kind of a gritty, kind of, just a steady football team. And Matt Stafford is kind of the ultimate, you know, professional quarterback, if you will,
Yeah.
like just like consummate pro. And Rodgers is kind of what the other LA teams are. He brings that, like, oh, I want to make this about me. I want to be a big name in a big city on a big team. And I mean, what is he going to be, 40, 41 years old? And I just feel like I don't want to say clubhouse cancer. That feels a little bit much, but I don't think he's a good vibes guy. And the Rams, to me, like you said, it's not the reason it doesn't feel like they're win now is because they sold a lot of their chips to win in 2021. And to their credit, they've rebuilt a heck of a lot faster than anyone thought. They had a really bad year in 22, but then rebounded to make the postseason last year and then did it again this year. And I think they're the kind of team that kind of is getting by more as much on vibes as anything else. Like they've got good chemistry, they've good
Yeah.
coaching, and I just think Rodgers would just throw that all out of whack, just make it about himself.
And then I got one more, my favorite one, the one that I want to see. This guy, we need this guy as a starter. I don't care where he's at. We need him as a starter in the league for at least the next 5 years. Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston. I mean, listen, if anyone's gonna fix him, it would be McVay, right? Like you got a gunslinger quarterback. He's again another veteran, a guy who just loves to grip it and rip it. And he was under Bruce Arians, so if anyone wants to say, "Oh, he was with a good coach and it didn't work," well, he just didn't have the maturity. I think that he was still maturing into himself, and we've seen that he's still a capable quarterback in this league. I'd love to see Jameis. I'd love to see a Jameis, another chance at a quarterback position. Plus, I think McVay would really be able to work with him on limiting the turnovers. That's always been Jameis's problem. It's just the turnovers. He can throw a touchdown. He can throw a 95-yard touchdown pass, but he's going to throw a pick right after.
Yeah, but the irony in that is that when Winston left Tampa after 19, Brady was brought in and they won the Super Bowl. And so now you're going to do the opposite of what the same thing happened to the Rams. They brought Stafford in and they won the Super Bowl. Now you're going to have him leave and you're going to go backwards with Jameis Winston. I say, no way. I think it'd be nice to have him again as a backup because he brings that kind of like he keeps both teams in the game. It's fun. Games can be fun when Jameis Winston's in there, but there's no way you can roll with him as a starter. Honestly, I think, if you're not going to go out and get one of the kind of guys that started last year, I think Garoppolo would be a better. I mean, heck, the guy's still. What is Garoppolo now? 31. I'm going to get 32, maybe. Maybe he's even a little older than because he came into the. He's 33.
He is.
So he's 33. Yeah, he'll be, I guess, 34 midway through next season. But, again, you're talking about a guy that at least has had. You talk about Russ having had success in that division. It's been longer since Russ had success than Jimmy Garoppolo, and I'm not a big Garoppolo fan, but again, his team did make the Super Bowl with Garoppolo. Granted, he threw 8 passes in that NFC Championship game. He beat Aaron Rodgers, or the Niners beat the Packers. So I think, and he has familiarity, obviously having played a year now. He got a chance to play in that last game. He's played a year under McVay, so
he had 300 something yards in that last game too.
Yeah. I mean, he's a capable quarterback. I think it's easy to sort of throw shade at him because didn't get it done in the Super Bowl and loses his job to Brock Purdy. But the Niners won a lot of games with him as a starter, and that's not just an easy automatic thing to do, even if you're quarterbacking a good team. So I wouldn't think it'd be the worst thing in the world if they make that move.
Yeah. I got a list of quarterbacks here, and I think we're just going to stay on the quarterbacks. I guess we're just going to talk about if they're going to start, where they would start, and we'll start with Sam Darnold. He's a free agent, leaving Minnesota, possibly leaving Minnesota. What do you do with Sam Darnold? This is going to be the big question of the offseason until free agency hits. I feel like Sam will probably wait a little bit too. He'll sit and wait on free agency a bit. What do you do with this guy? Could you see him back in San Francisco? Maybe competing with Brock Purdy? I really do, and I loved, and I actually had him written down for LA because I think that is one of the best scenarios if Stafford isn't there. Sam Darnold gets to get there. You can leave no doubt at that point. He would be surrounded by a good team. He'd have a great coaching staff around him. There would be no excuse for him to fail. This would be his last opportunity. He would know it. He would go into camp knowing he's the starter. And if it didn't work, then that's it. You can't say anywhere, you can't say, oh, well, it's because of this or this or this. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work here, or it'll never work. Where would you see him? If it's not LA, if it's not Minnesota, where would you see
him? I feel like the only teams desperate enough to pay him a lot of money would be the teams that are desperate enough to pay him a lot of money. It would be probably the Jets and the Raiders. Now, I think the Jets, the good thing there is the bar is set so low. He set the bar so low himself that he was there. But I don't know if you want to go backwards. It wouldn't shock me at all. But the Raiders, Pete Carroll coming in at his age, I just don't see Tom Brady saying, you're my quarterback. You're the guy I'm going to invest my future in, So I would rule out probably those two teams. The team that kind of is interesting is the Giants. Talk about Asante Samuel staying in the same stadium. Well, Sam Darnold could come back and play for the other New York team as kind of a stopgap because there's
in
no
the same
guarantee that
stadium. Yeah.
right in the same stadium. There's no guarantee that the Giants are going to get their guy in the draft, right? Or that there even is that guy in the draft. And the Giants would probably love to have somebody who's a little more established. I mean, it's been a long time. It feels like it's been a long time since because even when they had Eli Manning, later in his career, he didn't produce. It's been a while since they felt really good about their quarterback, right? Jones didn't. He got him to the playoffs, but it just never felt like he was the guy that was really capable of leading him. So that I don't know. I think the Giants are an interesting one.
What about Aaron Rodgers?
To the Giants or just where's
Oh,
he
just
going?
anywhere. Are we going? Are we even going to see him play?
Yeah, I think I don't think he wants to go out the
Like
way
that.
that he did. I saw a thing that said Aaron Glenn in his last game as an NFL player, his team killed Rodgers. He was also the coordinator. Rodgers' last game as a Packer, and one
Well,
other
he
one.
told Rodgers you got to quit it with the media if you're gonna be here. I think is part of what he said, and he, I mean, at least he was self aware or he was aware of the situation. It feels like any Jets coach that goes into the Jets situation is not aware of the Jets history and the just the complete mismanagement. He seems more aware. Like him telling Rodgers, you have to be a part of this team. There's no missing training camp, there's no media stuff. You're not creating a distraction. Feel like that's one of the first times I've heard that from a Jets coach. I could be wrong because I'm not a Jets fan, but feel like that's encouraging.
Well, it's a good way to start for Aaron Glenn, but I think if you're a team that's going to take Aaron Rodgers on, you have to be a team with a head coach that feels similarly. And Pittsburgh is the betting favorite for Aaron Rodgers, and I think in some ways it makes sense because again, Mike Tomlin's kind of no nonsense. Pittsburgh's not a big media town. Rodgers is obviously. I think he's as capable as Russell Wilson was last year, and they don't seem confident that they're going to roll with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So because the Steelers are still they still have some talent around them. They're still a team based more on defense, but uh,
I mean, you got
show.
George Pickens in there. That's a competent offense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're going to lose Najee Harris, but they didn't really get that much from him anyway. I think Pittsburgh probably makes the most sense for Aaron Rodgers, at least
That
just
would look weird.
it would
That'd be
look weird. He
weird.
beat them in the Super Bowl. His only Super Bowl win was against the Steelers. I don't see him going out this way, and I don't see him going to a bad team. I think he probably doesn't want to have what happened with the Jets happen. I mean, at least Pittsburgh is a team that you'll always know you're going to get at least 9 wins.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Again, if Mike Tomlin can handle Roethlisberger, Brown, and Bell all in the same, and Fontez Perfect, is that right? Yeah, he was. No, that's not right. Fontez Perfect, was he in that? He wasn't in that locker room, right?
I don't think so. No.
No, he wasn't. Either way, if he can handle the Killer Bees and be like an AFC title contending team with them, I think he can handle Aaron Rodgers being stupid in the media. Here's an interesting one. You mentioned him earlier, Justin Fields. Where do we see Justin Fields going?
The Raiders. I could see that one.
Raiders. That one. That could make sense as a backup, I assume, or a platoon quarterback.
Sure.
Platoon
Yeah.
him with Jameis.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Someone will get. Look, Justin Fields, he played all right. I mean, he started out the year well, and he was good in those run packages. So it almost felt like he kind of got a raw deal almost with the Steelers. I mean, they kind of had a shorter leash with him, and they were just kind of waiting to put Russ in. But honestly, Fields played pretty well.
Mm-hmm. And then Russ. I think Russ is another. That's a big question mark. What are we going to do with Russ? Where do we see Russ next year? I'd like to see a return to the NFC. Go back to your roots a little bit. Yeah.
I think he'll go back to the NFC. Yeah, Giants again. I feel like the Giants. could be a good fit. I mean, someone's got to go there. Someone's got to go there.
It's sad, isn't it? It's
It
when you
is.
think of a quarterback in the Giants uniform, you get a little sad. You think, oh, that's the end of their career. It's officially over. Um, it's just, yeah, really sad to think about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams right now with young quarterbacks that need veteran backups. Right? Is Kirk Cousins going to be back in Atlanta? I guess he is. I'm not going to get rid of him, but
I think I don't think they can.
New England is a team that needs a backup, good backup. Minnesota, well, assuming they go with JJ McCarthy, they would love to have a veteran in there that they're not paying nearly as much as Darnold
Yeah.
would command. Um, I, I mean, yeah, Tennessee is a team that needs a quarterback, but the assumption is they're going to draft one. So there's a lot of these young teams that may or may not have their guy yet and who may be going young, but who need a guy like Russell Wilson to kind of help bridge the gap. So it wouldn't really shock me to see him end up at a place like Tennessee, right? Or Chicago. We talk about the Bears, Caleb Williams. I mean, he needs some insurance. He's in year 2, but he's in a new offense. I mean, it would not hurt for the Bears to have an established backup. Now, I don't think they'll go back to having Justin Fields, but a guy like Russell Wilson makes a lot of sense. Now, granted, I understand wouldn't want to be a backup, but if it comes down to not having that choice, then there's no reason he can't come in and help mentor a guy like Caleb Williams.
There's only 32 jobs out there.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's plenty that are already spoken for right now. Yeah, Kirk Cousins, apparently there is an artificial deadline. It's before Cousins' bonus is due. So he signed a 4-year contract worth up to 180 or 180 million dollars a year and 62.5 million during the 2024 season. Holy shit. That is a crazy number. When does he do his bonus? I think it's around draft time. We should kind of find out around draft time. Or combine time, not draft time. I'm sorry, combine time. We should find out about him. And I'm curious about him. I mean, I think it's Kirk Cousins is a serviceable backup, right? He would be a serviceable backup at this point. And I love Kirko. I love the guy, but we saw what he was when he was officially given the keys, I think.
He's the NFL's best lawyer. I mean, he's kind of the guy that just knows how to swindle his way into getting teams to bend over backwards into his demands. And to me, I don't know. Personally, the guy seems like a good guy, but I just cannot get on board with him as my quarterback. I mean, he's there if you need to plug him in, but as a starter, I can't imagine a team would turn the keys over to him at this point in his career. Why?
Cleveland?
I mean, again, there's a lot of desperate football teams out there that don't have the answer. I mean, Cleveland's in a horrible situation right now.
Yeah.
And with Deshaun Watson, I mean, I have no idea what they're going to do. The Giants are in a tough spot, but at least they're not paying a quarterback $230 million to be,
Nothing.
injured and on trial. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, like, what do you do if you're New Orleans? What happens here? Do you even want Derek Carr anymore?
There's no way that Derek Carr should be anything but, again, a stopgap for the future. I mean, they need to figure out what the next steps are in terms of I don't know. Because how much longer do they have Derek Carr under contract? I think it
can't be much longer.
Well, he signed a 4-year deal. Let's see, what year was that? In 2023. So he's got 2 more years on the books.
Oh God.
Right, and he's got a cap hit of $51 million, according to Spotrac, however we pronounce that track.
Whatever that is.
And that cap hit becomes $61 million next year.
In 26.
So there's no, I mean, I think the potential out, 2-year out, it'd be $50 million in dead cap money is what I'm looking at here. So I don't know how. Do you just eat that money, or do you just hope that the guy can produce at ages 34 and 35?
I mean, and Carr is a guy who hasn't exactly produced in his career. I mean, he had that one year where everyone he was it was MVP caliber, and then like when they almost beat the Bengals in the wild card round, it was like those 2 years, right?
Right, 16 and 21. 16, he broke his leg. The Raiders were
Yeah,
maybe the team
against the
that was the
Colts, I
biggest.
think actually.
Yeah, and they were the biggest threat to the Patriots that year. If I'm not mistaken, I think they were undefeated on the road until their last game. Maybe they were 7-0, like and then they end up having a third string quarterback, Connor Cook, playing. And anyway, I mean, Derek Carr, it's too bad because he looked promising, obviously, and he got a chance to reach that level. But if you're Kellen Moore, I mean, and you're a young head coach, you're trying to make your mark,
Yeah.
I don't think you can go with this guy, especially when he's counting that much against the cap.
I mean, is that just the most depressing first day to walk into? Like Kellen Moore, all excited. He's finally a head coach in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
It's been a few years. He's kind of, he's been in and out of that circle of, oh, who's the next guy? And he's been out, and now he's in, and he's finally head coach. And you're going to the New Orleans Saints, the
Yep.
Aints. They are the Aints now. Can we start calling them the Aints? Because I mean, look at the cap situation. Sean Payton and Drew Brees were basically the only things, or the only people really making them competent. They're the Aints now. I'm officially dubbing them the Aints again.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, it's not good. You can tell. I think all of our listeners can tell. Maybe we're a little brain fried. It's been a long year. It's been a long season. We're really excited for this break. I think we always have fun when we're on the show. But I think this was a really good time for us to just kind of sit back and reset and just get into baseball season. I'm so excited for baseball season. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. I think this is where we're going to wrap up. We're going to be back on, let me get the correct date. We are going to be back March 12th. March 12th is going to be the first episode of the baseball season. First episode back. We'll be doing content, though, on the 9th. Starting there, we'll be posting stuff on social media. Daylight savings time as well. Anyone who follows that, the dumbest thing we do, still ridiculous. I could have a full show on that. Yeah, we'll be back in a couple weeks. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Go check out Draft America. Go check out Spring Hill Sports Cards. They're going to do their final show for the next couple of weeks on Thursday, Friday, sometime like that. And we will see you March 12th.